Hey, it's Doug here. I want to pop in before I send it to the full episode and let you know what's going on. This is part 3 of our happiness series. We're roughly talking about happiness mindsets in this episode. We recorded these in like the spring, summertime of 2024. And this was before Carl left the show. Now, the good part, I think, is not that Carl left the show. The good part is I think each of the episodes kind of stands alone, but if you want to listen to them in order, you can go back a couple episodes. And like I have a couple more that I'm going to record, and I think they roughly follow community, building relationships, and part 4. Part 5 is novel experiences. And then I think we were going to do part 6 and have kind of questions and other thoughts that people sent in along the way. So if you have any thoughts, shoot me an email, doug@milehfi.com, and hopefully we'll be able to get that into the episodes. Of course, this only applies if you send it within the next couple weeks of when the show goes live. And I paused on publishing these because number one, we didn't finish the series, but I was thinking, hey, it'll be cool if we release these in a sequential week after week and just have like 6 weeks of this happiness series. Now, at some point I was like, you know what? I'm just going to publish these. Carl ended up leaving the show last fall. So here we are. If you do have questions, you can shoot me an email if you have thoughts or anything like that. Or if it's not even related to happiness and you just want to send an email, that's cool as well. And I'll have a couple other folks sit in and cover specific topics with me here. So I think that's it for today. If you enjoy these episodes, let me know for sure. You could find Carl's email address as well and let him know too. I'm sure he would love to hear from you. I think he probably remembers recording these, but who knows? It's been a while. So anyway, hope you're doing well out there. We'll catch you on the next episode, and let's send it to the show now. A great Canadian philosopher once said this, and what it boils down to is that no one's really got it figured out just yet. Well, I've got one hand in my pocket and the other one's playing a piano. And what it all comes down to, my friends, is that everything is just fine, fine, fine. That was Alanis Morissette.
Hello, world. Welcome to the Mile High Fi podcast. My name is Carl Jensen, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Doug Cunnington.
Doug, this is part 3 of our series on happiness, where we'll be discussing happiness mindset. So how do you train your brain for maximum happiness? It might not be as easy as you think. We'll talk about your brain, why fire could lead to more unhappiness, the importance of struggle, why social media sucks, why gratitude is so important, and why you are worthless. And why acknowledging that might be the key to happiness.
Before we get into the meat of this, I am a huge Alanis fan. Do you remember when Jagged Little Pill came out?
Oh, that thing was all over the radio. You could not get away from it.
Such a great album. And I'll leave it at that. But the other fans out there, please let us know in the comments or shoot us an email to let us know you're a fan too. I mean, she's great. She must have a lot of fans.
I think so. And there was even a musical made out of Jagged Little Pill, right? I think that might be the name of the musical.
Oh, that sounds like a thing that would happen. Yeah.
You should learn that song and open up with the intro with you on guitar and singing.
Okay.
Next time.
We'll look into it.
Yeah, it's too late. Okay, so today we are going to talk about fire mindset and your brain. Okay, let's get into it. I read a book recently called Solve for Happy. I think that's what it was called, Solve for Happiness. And one of the things he said at, which I really hadn't considered, is that I think his specific line was, you are not your brain. Like your brain will tell you all kinds of crazy things. It's what you do with those thoughts that defines who you are as a person. And I thought that was quite profound because my brain tends to be cynical. Like I'll be in traffic and someone will cut me off and I want to give them a rude gesture or yell out the window or get all angry. But then I read this, I'm like, that's pretty interesting. How does that serve you by getting angry or by having road rage or anything like that? It doesn't serve me at all. But that thought that my brain's throwing at me, I don't have to do anything with it. I can let that thought pass and reframe it if I want to, saying, hey, maybe that person is just having a bad day, or I'm so thankful my life is so good, he probably doesn't have the life that I do, so I'm going to forgive him. Have you ever thought about this, Doug? Does your brain ever throw crazy shit at you?
All the time, especially late at night. We've talked a few times about waking up at like 3 a.m. and basically feeling a huge amount of anxiety about like the upcoming day. And it turns out when I wake up in the morning that I was blowing it out of proportion. And yeah, I can't trust my brain in the middle of the night, basically.
Yeah, and it's your brain is just a big biochemical reaction, right? I think the reason for that is your stress fighting hormone. Maybe cortisol goes down, so stuff that wouldn't bother you normally will bother you at night.
There it is.
Pretty crazy. What kind of things do you worry about, Doug? You're a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I can't picture you having anxiety or.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is if there's actually like something big going on, if I'll just make up, if there's a deadline for our podcast or something like that. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to pull this together and there's a lot of work, or we have to prepare a speech or something like that. Like that's like some true stress, right? Like that is something. But if there's no stress, if there's no actual problems, I'll still stress about like what I'm going to cook the next day. It's like, oh no, should I go to Costco or Sam's, or like what time should I go? There's going to be a long line at Costco if I go after 4 or something like that. So I'll make up a problem if there's no problem.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? And your brain kind of weights it the same. Like that Costco problem might seem nearly as bad as like a real problem. It's so interesting. Like if we did have a real problem and then that thing got solved, we would be so happy. But that happiness should be how we should be all the time, because we have pretty good lives, right? Like what problems do we have? I'm trying to think of what my biggest day-to-day problem is. It might be my kid clogging the toilet or something like that, right? Like
you're blaming your kid again?
Yeah. I need more fiber in my diet. I'm working on it. So before we get into it, the other thing that has helped me is just Pete writes about this all the time, and this is a pretty big tenet of Stoic philosophy. You should pay attention to what you can control and let the rest go, which is the exact opposite of what the news or anything else wants you to believe. It wants to give you anxiety and get you to pay attention to it. But it's pretty silly because you have no control over it. Therefore, you should spend zero time thinking about things out of your circle of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very freeing once you accept it.
Yes. Okay, let's get into it. So this first one might be interesting to people, and it's how fire can actually make your life worse. And that's because if you've got a job, that can mask issues because you're there a lot of time, and you might spend more time with your coworkers than you do with your partner or kids. And I've seen this in my real life. I've seen people who just stay busy, and maybe I can think of one example where this person would work remotely as often as they can just so they didn't have to be home. So if you all of a sudden don't have a job and are fired, you're going to have to deal with all of these things that you didn't have to deal with before. I've actually seen a couple people, no one that anyone would know. I don't want people to jump to conclusions. At least one get divorced, and I don't think they would have been divorced if they wouldn't have left their job. If you want to see what your relationship is really like, spend your days together like all the time, and then you'll see if you've really got something or not.
Yeah, and one lucky thing, Elizabeth and I have been working remotely or from home for many years. So we're used to being around each other in the same house all the time, like 20 hours a day for many, many years. So like the fact that she stopped working, not that much really changed other than she's actually gone more now because she's doing stuff. Like she's playing pickleball right now.
So your relationship is even better because she's around you less.
Yeah. So it could get better for unexpected reasons. But yeah, you could imagine like all of a sudden, if maybe you travel 30% of the time and you're like out of town, and then maybe you're at the office for 9 hours a day or something like that, or if you're home all the time after that, you just changed so many things. It seems staggering. That would be like a full lifestyle change. So
Yeah, it was for me in my life. I live with 3 very extroverted people who love to talk, and I kind of like my quiet time. So now, like, Mindy's around there all the time, and my kids are around all the time in the summer, so it can be a little bit exhausting. And if I would have had a job, I would have had my alone time. But there's ways to deal with it. I can go to the HQ or come here and hang out with you.
yeah, go to the gym for a few hours.
Yeah, just disappear.
Walk 25,000 steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I have to say about this topic is get help if you need it. There's tons of forms of therapy. I always knew I needed it, but I always felt uncomfortable with the forms I heard about. I should have just gone and talked to someone, but it feels uncomfortable telling a stranger all your issues. And a lot of times you need to go through multiple therapists to find one that works for you. So I eventually went to this Hoffman Process, which is a group therapy thing. And I think it was very good. And I feel fortunate I found the one that worked for me. But if you've got issues, fire often is going to bring these issues to the forefront, and it's up to you to take responsibility for them, acknowledge them, and then figure out how to deal with them. I mean, there's so many books. There's like you go to a bookstore, there's probably hundreds of self-help books and books that'll tell you what's wrong with you and how to deal with it. So don't put that stuff off.
And I was just at the library the other day, and they have all the same books there. So you can go and check it out and, study what you need to, or get professional counseling or whatever you need.
Yeah. Nice. Doug, let's talk about struggle, because I think this is so important, and I think it's misunderstood. We live in a culture of convenience, right? Like, a lot of people think that any kind of struggle is bad. Like, if you don't like something, you should hire it out, and the life of convenience is what you should aspire to. It's like what's sold to us, right? You see a hotel commercial and people are sitting there, they're being brought drinks, and there's absolutely no struggle in life. And I can't think of anything more unsatisfying or something that would probably make me depressed if I had no struggle in life. But I want to qualify it with its voluntary struggle. And the whole concept of FI is kind of based around it, because we're postponing a little bit of gratification to save money, knowing that there's going to be a better life ahead, and much better than there would have been if we would have spent the money now. We're going to put a little bit away, and we're going to have a really great life, but there is going to be a little bit of struggle. So I think it's like the core of personal finance, but there's other kinds of things that are voluntary struggle that you might not have thought of. Like, exercise is probably the ultimate form of it. If you want to build muscle or run a marathon, you're going to have to pay for that in the gym. But, like, do you feel better after a workout?
Always, yeah.
I feel so good. Oftentimes, Doug, like sometimes I'll wake up and I just don't feel like myself. I don't feel as good as I think I could be, or I'm not my normal self. So I'll go for a run or a weight workout, and by the end of that, the endorphins are going, or whatever chemical process happens, and I feel so much better about life that I've done that voluntary struggle. So super good.
And the great part with exercise is, like, no matter who you are, how good a shape you're in, like, you could always be challenged by exercise.
Yes.
And you could start at a very small level if you don't currently exercise, and, like, it could be just as challenging as someone who exercises all the time.
Yeah.
So.
And there's a form for everyone. Mindy does yoga now. If you like bikes, do that. If you like running, do that. Weights. There's so many different ways you can introduce this form of struggle into your life.
Any other examples of voluntary struggle?
Learning a language is a great one. That's going to take a lot of commitment, maybe going to live in a foreign place, which is another form of struggle, because that's going to put you out of your comfort zone and really push your boundaries. Work, whatever that means to you, I think we all need some form of work, even in retirement. Yeah, it's the 4-letter word that comes up, the internet retirement. Please don't like to see us working, but it doesn't even necessarily have to be around money. Like, Doug, one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast was so I could work on my speech and become a better speaker. So this is work, even though I think I've paid money to do this. We haven't made any money from this work, which a lot of people would say might not even be work, but it is work, because I'm accomplishing something and getting something out of it. Yeah, Doug, can you think of any other forms of voluntary struggle that people could introduce into their life?
I think, we were chatting earlier today. Like I said, I went to the library and I haven't been in a little while. And there's so many cookbooks there. I cook all the time. We don't talk about it a ton, but I cook like 90% of the time. We don't eat out very often. And I really enjoy food and just thinking about it, talking about it. I watch a ton of YouTube videos about food and restaurants and stuff. So I think maybe similar to exercise, like it can be challenging to cook certain things. And there's so many different ways to cook that if you just dove into a certain, like baking bread or sourdough, or if you're into smoking meat or whatever, like you could figure out your thing. Or if you're vegan, you could figure out how to make these other dishes into a vegan style. Like it's so challenging to test and try and have to learn something new. And then there's external factors. So depending on what it is you're trying to do, but if you're like, say, smoking meat, like every piece of meat you get is a little bit different. And maybe the weather impacts how you're cooking, and it's a little hot or it's a little cold or something like that. So there's all these little challenges you have to deal with. And it's pretty fun. And at the end of the day, you get to eat it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So I think that the main thing with all these is we're introducing a little bit of difficulty into our life, but it's difficulty that we think we can solve and get past, and we're going to feel better after we've done it than if we just would have sat on the couch all day.
You have a note in here, which I think we should go over. So it says, I'd get incredibly depressed sitting around all day. Can you elaborate on that?
Like if I wasn't allowed to do any work, if I wasn't allowed to exercise, if I was limited to like 2,000 steps a day, if I just had to sit on the couch, and maybe like video games are actually a challenge, and that might be a little bit of discomfort. You're solving a puzzle. But if I just had to sit there and like watch TV or movies all day, I think that would be horrific. I would just go out of my mind.
And it's just your particular outlook. You're just like, I don't like sitting around.
Yeah. And I think this is true for most people. Like most people need work. They want the challenges. They want the puzzles. They want the difficulty in their life within reason, right? You don't want to have to go hungry or things like that, or lack for shelter. This is, again, the key word here is voluntary struggle. You're signing up to go to the gym and lift weights, or to try to get 25,000 steps with a weight vest on, or whatever your form of voluntary struggle is. You're not being forced to do this. But yeah, I just think having no challenge in life and a life of pure comfort would be, like on a small scale or on a short time period, very, very boring, but on a long time period, very unhealthy too. Like activity is the key to longevity, right?
So I agree generally with what you said. However, we have this Pascal quote. So all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. You've heard that before, right?
Yes.
And the thing is, I agree with what you're saying, but there's a blurred line of like, okay, people take what you said and like, okay, we should be productive, we should do stuff. And they do, maybe it's work, maybe they get obsessed with something else. It could be cooking, it could be the things that I'm talking about, where like they're now hiding from their problems and issues by obsessing about, the voluntary struggle. They're taking it too far. They're voluntarily struggling and doing stuff constantly. So how do you personally like bridge the gap of like the Goldilocks zone?
Oh yeah. So I think everyone should sit alone with their thoughts every day. And meditation isn't exactly that. It's kind of trying to dismiss those thoughts and let those thoughts pass, but everything in moderation, right? Like for me, meditation actually is a struggle because it's very hard to sit there and calm your brain down and just not do anything for 10 or 20 minutes or however long your practice is. But yeah, there's balance. Your whole day shouldn't be one long workout or work or whatever like that. You need balance in life, and you need to sit down and process your thoughts. And I think meditation, I said in the previous episode that I've reestablished my meditation practice to try to calm my brain down. But some work can be meditative too. Like you ever get on a rowing machine or bike, you're doing physical activity, but then it's mindless physical activity. And some of those are the best kind of things for bringing these thoughts to the forefront. Like walking, we talked about that. That's what happens when I walk too. You're alone with your thoughts. So yeah, everything in balance.
All right. Yeah, it's a tough balance for sure, but everybody has to figure it out on their own and what works, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into the next section here, we do have a sponsor, our friends over at GhostBed. So one thing that I wanted to highlight is the Split King adjustable set, which I always forget how to say that. But basically, it's two beds next to each other they're very close. It's like a giant king bed, but they go up and down. And you get great, I guess, experience from that because if one person's reading, they could like put their bed up and the other one can like put it down. And some people are just comfortable sleeping sort of off kilter. I don't know why.
Yeah.
They kind of like that stuff. Now, do you monitor your sleep in any way?
I do. I have a watch I wear to bed, and it tells me supposedly what my ranges are in different depths of sleep, like REM sleep, deep sleep, light sleep, awake.
Gotcha. And do you feel it's accurate, or what do you think of that kind of data?
Yeah, I think actually it is pretty accurate. I was skeptical of it, but I look at it and I have an idea of what time I fall asleep every night, and I know what time I wake up, and I think it's pretty good. I don't exactly know how it determines that you're in REM sleep or deep sleep. Yeah, I would trust it.
Yeah. And then I got obsessed. I have an Apple Watch. You have a different thing,
it's
right?
a Fitbit.
Okay. So I got a little obsessed with the data, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't sleep well. And then eventually I was just like, I don't need the watch to tell me if I slept good. Like if I wake up and I'm like, I feel pretty good, like I slept good. There's some extra data, but I don't know. I got a little too connected to it at some point, and then I was like, all right, I'll just look at it later. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, how do you just kind of look at it occasionally, or you really kind of analyze it?
I think I do look at it and I do analyze it, and I try to tie it in with other variables. Like, did I have an alcoholic beverage that day? What was the temperature like in our bedroom? What time did we go to bed? And see how all these different things affect me. And the heart rate too. I always look at that and see what that is, because alcohol always spikes that up, which isn't good and makes me warm. But yeah, it'd be nice if it had does the Apple Watch have any kind of temperature thing on there? Or?
No.
Okay.
It sure doesn't. Or at least I have an older one, so mine doesn't. I don't know if the newer ones do.
Yeah, I don't know if that's even a thing, if it could do that. It seems possible.
Well, and the other thing, I know they have like the rings and there's other devices out there, but I think, like a lot of the measurements that we can get, if we have some data, it's probably fine. And then again, like we wake up, we know we're in bed for a long enough time and we feel rested when we get up.
Yeah.
That's about as good as we could do.
Yeah. I mean, back to GhostBed, there's nothing more important than your sleep. So I would tell anyone, like, get a fitness tracker, whether you're an Apple person like Doug or a Fitbit person like me. See how you're sleeping. And if you're not sleeping perfect, you're going to have bad long-term side effects. A lot of doctors think that dementia, maybe Alzheimer's, is even caused by your brain not clearing itself out, which happens during sleep. So lack of sleep might be implicated in that, which is crazy. I don't think there's nothing more important than you can get right than your sleep. Like that trumps diet, exercise, everything. And if it's not right, change something up with it.
Yeah. From a happiness perspective, I think I told you a couple weeks ago, I was like, I wasn't sleeping that well, like an hour less per night or something like that. And yeah, I was just grouchier. Everything was irritating me, and I started getting a little more sleep, which side note, you can go to dougcunnington.com/sleep, and I list my supplements, and I told you I started taking the magnesium again.
Yeah.
Helped a ton. I didn't realize how much it was helping me, but I am sleeping through the night, like even if I had an alcoholic beverage, which is kind of crazy.
Nice.
So,
and there's a sleep cam on that, so you could actually see between the hours like 9 and 5, you could see Doug sleeping. And I know you talked about your nude sleeping practice, so beware if you go to that site.
So thanks a lot to GhostBed. You could check out all their stuff. They have mattresses, bed frames, including the split king adjustable set, and it actually has USB ports and under the bed LED lights, which can set the mood just right, I think. And they have bundles, they have bedding, pillows, accessories. If you go to ghostbed.com/milehighfi, you could save 10%. So thanks a lot to GhostBed.
Cool. Doug, let's talk about the news and social media. Do you ever watch the news? Like, did you ever used to as a kid?
I did as a kid, and weird thing, like I used to listen to like talk radio and watch the news like a lot in like middle school, high school, and I don't know, I was like fairly interested in politics.
Yeah. I was on a road trip back from Richmond, and I went through some AM stations and listened to it. And within like, if it's an AM show that's politically aligned, you can discover usually within 30 seconds. And I'll back up. My question was, how long would it take me to figure out what side of the political spectrum they're on? It's like 30 seconds. They're saying something like, but I don't want to get into it. We're not going to talk politics, but it's so horrible and it's so polarizing. And the thing about it, and social media too, like Facebook specifically does is they don't want to make you happy or educate you. They want to get you riled up and throw shit that they know is going to make you angry and piss you off, like both of those media. And what good is that? You can't do anything about any of this. Like vote, you know who you're going to vote for. I don't think Facebook or the news is going to change that. So what I've come to with all this is the best thing is just not to pay attention to it at all. And I'm not saying like that statement makes people mad, like, oh, you're not going to be aware of what's going on in the world. No, like you can know that there's a war going on and give money to that or whatever, but they shouldn't be the focus, and you shouldn't spend more than, I don't know, a couple minutes a month focusing on the big issues. If you want to pay attention to anything, it should be what's going on in your hometown and what's going on within a 10-mile radius, because that is where you can go speak at a city council meeting or vote and really make a difference directly. And that's going to affect your daily life. Like, despite how much you might not like whomever's president, it's probably not going to really affect your daily life that much.
100%. Yeah. At some point, I realized it didn't matter. And then I slowly, maybe not slowly, but I tapered it off. And then I was refreshed with the information diet idea from 4-Hour Workweek, which obviously Tim Ferriss didn't make it up, but essentially it's just like, limit your inputs, understand that your inputs are going to shape like what you're thinking about, and like it'll take up all your time and can really get out of control. And, 4-Hour Workweek was published in 2007, and now social media is so much more sophisticated to rile you up and get you upset, basically.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible. Do not. I like Facebook and social media to keep up with other people. Like if I need to contact with someone, maybe I don't have their phone number, so I can ping them on there, or maybe I see them posting like cool pictures of their trips. But beyond that, especially Facebook, like it'll throw stuff at you that it might know about it from some kind of search, but it knows. It's very good at finding out what's going to annoy you and puts that front and center. And just ignore all that stuff. And the other thing along the same lines is, I'll tell you a story, Doug. I knew someone who was going through some struggles. So every once in a while I would send him a note saying, hey, how's it going? Is there anything I could do to help? And the response is always the same, like, oh, everything sucks. And this person would spew out all these bad things that have happened. Yeah. So I stopped contacting them eventually after that. Have you ever had someone like that in your life? They're just so negative. And I think they're rare. I can think of one other example from my own life, but they just bring you down and they're not doing the work they need to do. I'm not sure exactly where that mentality comes from.
Yeah, definitely in the past where, it doesn't matter like what you're talking about, or even the environment or the gathering or whatever. It's just like the person complains all the time, and either the story is just generally negative, or the other closely related story is like something where they talk about how everyone else is stupider than them. And those are not fun. I mean, it's purely a negative story. So yeah, it's really tough. And I think over time I've like stopped hanging out with those kind of people.
Like this person, I truly reached at them from a point of help. Like, what can I do to help you? But it just didn't seem like they were doing anything to help themselves. You could sit there and they would have all kinds of social media posts where they would spew out their problems. Like, you can either spew out all your problems or get off all that stuff and try to figure out some answers to what's going on with your life. And I don't know.
Yeah. And you just reminded me, there's a couple of people I know on social media that, or I knew them in person, but like in social media, it's just like negative story after negative story. And it just reads like a bunch of excuses on why they're sad, which is sad. They need counseling and some help and all that stuff. Like, you were trying to provide some support to your friend, but at the end of the day, it's just like, all right, you're making it worse by like consuming all this crazy social media stuff that just like confirms your position, and then you're just fucking stuck there. Like, it's just confirmation bias, like just holding them down.
I think some people derive comfort in a weird, twisted sort of way in that, like, only happy when it rains. You ever heard that statement? Like, some people like the misery that they have in their life, and maybe it's all they've ever known, and anything else would be better, or maybe they just don't think they deserve anything better. I don't understand it, but if you're not going to make an effort to help yourself, there's nothing I can do to help you. Let's talk about gratitude. Doug, you had an interesting comment in a different outline about what you think of gratitude. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I think, there's all these gratitude type practices. And I was like, you know what? I tried it for a while and it didn't really help me. It doesn't mean it doesn't work for other people, but I was like, I think maybe I was already practicing some sort of a gratitude, or I was already grateful for my position and my family and friends and all that. So it really didn't help that much. I was just like writing the same thing over and over again. It's kind of boring. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It didn't click for me. It didn't make a difference.
But maybe it did, and it didn't, because you were already there. You're already thankful for everything in your life. So there's nothing you could add to it. You're already the pinnacle, Doug.
Right. Well, it makes sense. Like if you're in a spot where like the baseline is good, if you do something that's going to improve it, maybe it only improves it by like 3% instead of someone who was lacking in that area goes up by like 80%.
Sure.
So major difference. Yeah.
Okay. For me, it reframes the way I live my life and the way I experience life. And to elaborate on that, I try to go through life with like a backtrack of gratitude. And instead of looking for things to be angry about, I look for things that I can be thankful about. Like yesterday when we're having dinner, I'm thankful I get to spend this beautiful day. So I'm thankful for the day. I'm thankful for the food that our friend cooked. I'm thankful for the company. When you force yourself to think in that, you don't you don't go down the negative thing because you're searching for stuff to be thankful for instead of looking for reasons to be cynical or angry. So that's what it does for me. I don't know if that's supposed to be the point of it all, but that's it for me.
That makes sense. In like you're experiencing something and then you're looking at the positive side basically, and it can crowd out the negative thoughts in your head, I guess.
Yeah.
I have observed this a bunch in our local community. You are making more connections. You're building more of a community. So can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, well, we live in the epicenter of fire, which is great. It makes it a lot easier here too, because you've already have a filter of people who have passed through a filter where you're probably going to have stuff in common with each other. Yeah, just having a good group of people around you adds a ton of value to your life, just like our barbecue yesterday, and helping people connect with each other. Like if you've got a big community, you might find someone who's struggling to do one thing, and then you'll know someone who can fix it. Like one recent example is we had a friend who was trying to get rid of some real estate in Ohio. And we had another friend who was trying to buy real estate there. And now they're under contract, apparently, which is crazy. These two people who never would have crossed paths in their normal life. I think it gives a lot of joy being able to help. And I would consider myself an introvert, so this is probably a stretch for me too. But once you've found your people, it's not nearly as intimidating, right? It's not like I was on my road trip back, and I stopped at like a Burger King or some fast food place to get some food, and this person just started talking to me. That's pretty weird. Like I'll never get to that point. Have you ever struck up a conversation with someone just in?
Yeah. I used to kind of challenge myself at certain times because I was more maybe introverted in like high school. So yeah, I've challenged myself, and depending on where it is, yeah, I would regularly, and actually still do, would just like strike up a conversation, but it depends on who it is and all that, what that kind of situation is.
And I would say it depends on the context too. Like if you're hiking and you see someone else, hey, you love the outdoors, you love hiking, you're probably you're both happy to be there. Mm-hmm. But one thing I try to do to push myself is when I'm just doing my walks, if there's someone else coming at me, I say hi to them, even if they're like looking at the ground. And most people are like, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? And even though they didn't look happy coming at me, they engaged me after I did that.
One other tip you should actually try this is go to, I don't know, like Costco or Target or whatever. And like the massage section, like they have the massagers and stuff.
Yes.
Just go there and just kind of hang out, see who comes up and ask like, hey, what are you going to do with that massager? That's a good way to, meet people that are into the same stuff as you.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to go to Costco after this. I will try that out. Do you want to hang for a hot dog after you get your massage? Okay, let's move on to the last part. I'm going to start this out with a quote, and this is from the Solve for Happy book by Gawdat. Sorry, I butchered your last name, but his quote is, "Get real. You are not the star of the movie. Most of what happens around you isn't about you at all. There are infinite numbers of other movies. In those, if you feature at all, you're just a supporting actor. It would really help your happiness if you started to look at your life that way." And what I get out of this is, Doug, we're all pretty much worthless. We're all going to croak, and then like a decade or two after that, maybe 50 years after that, no one is going to remember us. And this was a big point of the 4,000 Weeks book. And I think he even mentions like Steve Jobs in there, as important he is to us. Like in a couple centuries, he'll just be an asterisk in the Smithsonian or something like that. When I first heard this, when I first started reading about this, and this has elements in Stoicism too, it was a little bit disconcerting and maybe like, oh, sad, like, oh, my life doesn't mean anything. Like this is all pointless. But then it's kind of liberating, right? If my life is pointless and no matter what I do isn't going to be remembered, then my main goal should just be to pursue happiness in life, right? Mm-hmm. That should be the most important thing. But the cool thing about that is that might seem a little bit selfish and bad, but a lot of happiness can be found by doing good things, by doing the work, by that voluntary struggle that we talked about, by helping others in your community, and all these positive things you can do to make yourself happy. So that's what I've come to in life. I should strive to be happy and try to do it in positive ways, like drugs bad, building a good connection, good.
Yeah, and I mean, my nihilistic attitude like is backed up. I mean, it can be negative, right? It could be very negative, but if you frame it in the right way, it does make a lot of sense and is generally backed up. It does allow you to be a little bit more free. Like one of the biggest hacks for happiness is to like do something for someone else. It doesn't have to be like a gift specifically, but it could be whatever your love language is. I don't know all this stuff, but like some sort of act of service or a food, right? I cook food all the time. So that sort of thing where you're just like helping other people out usually makes you feel good. And it's just a positive thing to do.
Yeah. Doug, my love language is cars. So if you want to buy me a Lamborghini at some point, that would be pretty meaningful to me. And I'd really be thankful for it. I will show you gratitude.
All right. That's a deal. All right. Anything else to wrap up on this one with mindsets?
Yeah, this is the one. So this is a multi-part series, but this is the part where you're really going to have to look at yourself. This is all on you because how you experience the world is up to you. Everything is going to happen. There's going to be lots of things that happen to us every day, and what we think about those and how we react to them, that's completely within our control. And it takes a lot of work. Like, right, I'm probably a negative, pessimistic person. And I used to be much more, but now I've got this backtrack going on in my brain all the time. So if something happens and my brain's going to be like, F that person, like da 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 da, I now catch it, suppress that, and try to turn it into something positive or replace that thought with something more positive. And some people might say, you're fooling yourself there, like saying that person who cut you off they're just having a bad day. Maybe they are just an asshole. But what point is there in that? You should strive for positivity, right? And to be happy. What point is there to be angry at the world and other people? I don't think that serves you well at all. And that's the other cool thing about this whole mindset thing. It's all in your control. Like, no one else can tell you how to think. So this is the one that you can really work on, and it might take more work than any of the other things, but it's probably the most important one, but maybe the one that's easiest to accomplish with a lot of work. That didn't make any sense.
But I think this is one where, like many of the pieces of this, like it'll take a lifetime, right? Like you'll never quite master it because you'll always be like changing. And I think, there's obviously like thinkers since writing was a thing where you could study philosophy and maybe piece together some stuff that works for you. Or if you're a religious person, there's obviously a lot of scripture and other stuff people could study there. And maybe, we talked meditation a little bit. So that would be like prayer as well. So we're viewing it more from a secular standpoint, but like it all fits in with the parameters of a religion too. So, but yeah, it's a constant struggle, and I think people change over time and their situation changes and they evolve and all that stuff. So yeah. So good luck trying to figure out your mindset. What were we going to say?
Oh, no. The great thing about this one is like, we're going to talk about novel experiences and stuff like that. And that's something that you might be able to work on every once in a while, like taking a vacation or changing your work up. But this is something you can work on every moment of your life, which is pretty cool.
Tips, questions, thoughts, or anything like that around this series, let us know. Shoot us an email, doug@milehighfi.com. We got a Facebook group. We'll link up so you can get to all that stuff really easily.
If you find value in this show, please go to, what is it, like Apple Podcasts? Does Spotify have reviews?
I think so, probably.
Yeah, leave us a really nice review. We really appreciate that. If you don't like the show, just turn it off and go for a walk. No need to say mean things about us. I cry when I read those mean reviews.
Yeah. Leave gratitude, gratitude-like compliments, and it makes us feel good.
That's a great way to practice this mindset. Yeah, great way. Good wrap up.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to the show. That was the Mile High Fi podcast, and I'm Doug Cunnington. If you dig the show, please do 3 things for us. Number 1, tell a friend, a family member, an enemy about the show. We really don't care who you tell. Maybe forward them a specific show that you know that they will like. It's the single most helpful thing that you can do to spread the word. It's like giving us a virtual high five, and actually we don't give high fives in person, so the virtual kind's pretty good. And more importantly, your friend or family member or even your enemy will appreciate the fact that you were thinking of them. Number 2, make sure you're following or subscribed on your podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, YouTube, whatever you're using, and that way you won't miss a show. And number 3, please leave us a rating and review. We read them on the show occasionally, and you might hear yours out there on an upcoming episode. Quick disclaimer, this show is not financial or legal advice. I'd actually be surprised if it sounded like it. It's really just for entertainment, and that's at least what we're hoping for. But seriously, get advice from professionals. So we'll catch y'all next week. A couple weeks ago, I put a fidget spinner on your table, I was like, I wonder if Carl will pick this up during the episode. So what happened?
Yeah. I saw it sitting there, and the first thought I had was, Doug is screwing with me. You put it there as an experiment to see what I would do with it. Yeah, then I did pick it up and mess with it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it right there. And then after the show was over, I asked you, and you said, yes, that was indeed true. You put it there to see what I would do with it.
And I do the same thing. I mean, like there's a pen. We've moved to start using our laptops here. But before I would just like constantly like just play with the pen and do stuff with it. But now I think I just scroll up and down constantly or something like that. But I'm always doing something with my hands. Did you ever get into the fidget spinners back in the day?
I did not. No. Did you?
No, I think like a lot of things, I was a few years late, but then I saw like they were obviously pretty cool. So I think I picked up a couple of them from Walmart and just like set them around the house in like, I don't know, it was like 2017 or 2018 or something like that. So yeah, they're good to have around. I could see like if I had the corporate job, if I was at an office to have like a few of them around just to have like knickknacks and whatever. So
what is the purpose of a fidget spinner? Is it supposed to help you focus by?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
When I think we saw people doing like tricks and stuff. So they would like spin them and then they would like throw them in the air and like catch it behind their back or some stuff like that. So I don't know what you call that other than like a waste of time. But they're kind of fun to spin around. And Georgie was intrigued with them. Of course, she would like go up close and like get her snout in there. Like, no, girl. Like, don't do it. But yeah, they're fun. I guess we could have taught Georgie to like hold it on her head or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, nose, maybe have her. Yeah. She's pretty smart, right? Stick out her nose.
Yeah, you give it a shot. See if you could do that.
Yeah.
right now.